Great life, everyone. Thank you for coming to this very, very special Zoom meeting that we are having right now. This is one of the most requested topic in tungkol po sa autism, and tonight we have the first part of a two-part series. Ang pinakaano po dito, the best thing about this is that the doctor himself, the good doctor, Dr. Mario Ramirez, who's the leading consultant for research in autism and nucleotide supplementation, is the one to conduct this Zoom meeting with us. He will give us insights about autism, the spectrum of autism, and of course, what can nucleotides do about it. Okay, so before calling Dr. Mario, I would like to first acknowledge our president, Mr. Leon Katz, is joining us right now. Sir Leon, I would like to call on Dr. Mario Ramirez to start this very, very special Zoom that we have right now. Doc Mario, thank you from Singapore.
Thank you, Arnel. Thank you, everyone, for attending. This is a very interesting topic. It's very close to my heart. And being the clinical head for the dietary nucleotide supplementation in children with neurodevelopmental disorders or autism is actually so important to me. We will be talking about autism and the development of the brain with autism and how nucleotide supports brain development and how it interacts with the brain in trying to better the autistic support. We're not going to say heal or anything. We're just going to say make it better, make it much more improved. Okay, before anything else, we have an important medical disclaimer. Number one, this is only for educational purposes. The following information are about nucleotides and immunogen, and let me reiterate and stress that immunogen is a dietary supplement and it's not a drug. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease including autism spectrum disorder. So it's important and imperative that you always consult with a qualified physician for medical advice. So what is autism? Autism spectrum disorder. It's a spectrum, meaning it contains a lot of, we will go to the other involvement in the spectrum. So it's not only delayed development. There are a lot of things happening in an autistic spectrum disorder, ASD. So the effects are entirely different from one person to another. That's why it's called a spectrum, because there's a wide variation in challenges and strength possessing each person with autism. It's quite different from one autistic child to another. If you can see here, you can see the development of the different areas of the body. Let's start on the upper side, which you can see the parietal lobe, which is the language lobe, which generally develops at birth to 6 years old. So when the child starts to talk to me, it's the parietal. You know, the things that you talk to the child, say, and the child goes like that. It's the parietal lobe that is developed. The parietal lobe is also important in the touch, the development of touch in individuals. So if you have children who have touch deficit, the parietal lobe may have different effect or some damage to the parietal lobes. Again, it's at birth or to 6 years old. So hugging, holding your hands, massaging are important for the development of the parietal lobe. The language lobe and the touch lobe are also secondary to the occipital lobe, which begins at about birth to 2 years old. The visual lobe is also at the occipital lobe, the visual cortex, the ones responsible for seeing, that develops around 2 to 4 years old. Balance and equilibrium occurs at the brain midstem brain. Hearing and emotions and learning occurs at the parietal lobe also. This is the side. And the frontal lobe is responsible for creative thinking and judgment. So judgment comes very late in age. So again, you have to understand the hearing and learning is a temporal lobe area. You have to understand different areas of the brain develop at different times of the child's growth. So it's imperative you can see how differently it affects the children with autism, because development, for example, of the creative thinking or the judgment is delayed. It's about 12 to 22 years old. Well, whereas the language skills are developed early at birth to 2 years old. So early on, you can see children with parietal lobe deficiencies having problems with language, whereas the creative thinking and judgment comes a little bit later on. So you cannot assume the children or children will have a good creative thinking already early on during their growth, their childhood growth. So as you can see here, this is the axonal development, or the development of the brain cells. Each long strand there is an axon. So you can see at birth, as a newborn, you have very small axonal development because they don't need a lot of thinking. But as they grow and they develop, you look at the 1 month old, it's beginning to double. At 6 months, they're very, very interconnected already. And at 2 years, already like a scrambled mess of axons, neurons and axons. Okay, so the core description for ASD, autism spectrum disorder, the core characteristic is that the social communication, they usually have difficulty understanding and responding to social cues, facial expression and tones of their voice. Like, for example, if you talk to them about a tone that is much more like violent, they will not understand that. And the understanding, they do not understand those without ASD. Social interaction, they cannot socially interact with you. And they develop a repetitive disorder like a hand flapping, echolalia, which is repeating words. And there are different atypical objective ways that they have repetitive disorder. Sensory processing is also a problem in autism. They are sometimes very oversensitive or undersensitive to light, and especially noise. Most of my autistic patients have very sensitive noise and touch. They do not like being touched so much, so hugging them, taking care of them, you cannot. This leads to, they say that touching, for example, leads to a sensory overload and causes them a lot of anxiety and later on meltdown because the environment is overwhelming them. Again, they have limited eye contact. You can see that for autistic children, they do not develop that eye contact when you talk to them. They have delayed speech. Okay, most of the time for those who are not severely autistic, their delay in the speech is one of the most diagnostic problems that you can, when a child or when a pediatrician sees a children with autistic spectrum disorder, they have very delayed speech and they lack gestures, okay? But particularly, they cannot show things to others. They cannot wave or by saying goodbye when by about 12 months old. There are few things that they cannot do, which are at the time of the certain age, like waving is about 12 months old. This is another interesting and very important slide. Take a screenshot of this. You can see the symptoms of autism. You have seizures, repetitive behavior, anxiety, and deep sleep. All right, disrupted sleep. I mean, adenosine, which is the main ingredient and the ingredient which is highest in immunogen, actually addresses a lot of these problems. Seizures, it is a seizure reducer. It decreases the frequency of seizures. It is a sleep promoter, so the disrupted sleep are decreased. That's why, if you've heard earlier with Joris, the father and the mother were able to get good sleep because Joris had good sleep. Adenosine also decreases anxiety levels in autism. And the last is that it decreases the repetitive behavior. So adenosine alone, which is one of the ingredients coming from adenine makes adenosine monophosphate, then makes adenosine triphosphate, which is the triphosphate. ATP is the energy currency of the body. But adenosine as a nucleotide can address most of the symptoms of autism. Here again are the core deficits of autism. You can see in terms of the intellectual, we have the language impairment, repetitive behavior, and social deficits. We also have seizures, which is different from intellectual disability. We have GI disorders and immune dysfunction. Other than that, we have the associated symptoms like sleep disorders, mood discrepancies, anxiety, hyperactivity, which is very strong in autistic children, attention deficit disorder as well, and the related disorders. They said it's related. There's sleep disorders, mood disorders, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, and autistic hyperactive developmental disorder. According to severity, we have 3 levels of severity. Level 1 would require support, meaning without support, the deficits can be cause noticeable impairment and difficulty in initiating social interaction. So if at level 1 they're not given adequate support, it causes more social problems later on. At level 2, you require a lot more substantial support, which makes, because they have marked deficits such as verbal, nonverbal skills, social impairment, and even other supports. At level 3 of the severity level, we have children that require very, very high substantial support. Several deficits causing severe impairment in such functioning, and they have very limited social interaction. So let's go beyond the biology. What are the other issues? What are the diagnostic behavior? While diagnostic behavior can differentiate ASD from there are other underlying issues that can be challenging to physiologically diagnose, like for example, the gastrointestinal issues. We have chronic constipation, diarrhea, gut inflammation. So if a patient, a child has gut issues, we do not know whether this is secondary to autism or not. It could be secondary. It could be difficult to diagnose differentially. We have also immune system dysregulation, meaning we have overactivity and underactivity, autoimmune diseases, and susceptibility to infection because of very low immune system. These are other diagnostic conundrums that children can have. We have oxidative stress, which is the imbalance between the free radical and the antioxidants causing oxidative stress. There are a lot more free radicals that the antioxidants can handle. That's why they can cause more problems in the child. And more importantly, they have mitochondrial dysfunctions, which causes issues like energy production in the cell. Remember that the mitochondria is the one responsible for causing or producing energy in a cell. It's the energy producer of the body. So they say that the nucleotides are conditionally essential nutrient, meaning initially they called non-essential, meaning you do not need nucleotides because the body can make them. That's why they say it's non-essential. You cannot supplement. It's a non-essential supplement. But they found out now it's conditionally essential, meaning that the body has to undergo specific conditions because there are times that the body cannot produce enough nucleotides, like in rapid growth, limited intake, and metabolic stresses. The body cannot make nucleotides. So it is essential and conditionally essential to supplement nucleotides in our diet. That's why from non-essential, it is now said that nucleotides are essential or conditionally essential nutrients that the body needs in order to provide proper nutrition. Okay, let's talk about the high cost of synthesis of nucleotides. The nucleotides are synthesized via what we call a de novo synthesis. There's also a salvage pathway. When the old cells die, the nucleotides are salvaged to produce more more nucleotides. Kumbaga parang they recycle the nucleotides. The body can create nucleotides from scratch. This is called the de novo synthesis. So from scratch, from zero, you can create nucleotides. However, this process of de novo synthesis is very metabolically expensive. So imagine a child who's already nutrient deficient, who's already energy deficient. Then you put on stress to manufacture more nucleotides. The body will not manufacture more nucleotides because they're already in a energy deficit. So the cost for producing more nucleotides, especially when the baby or the child is under excessive stress because they're growing. Number one, they're growing. They need a lot of nucleotides to grow, and they need a lot of energy because they're growing up. So it's very, very expensive to produce nucleotides. So dietary nucleotides are essential that the diet spares this high cost of manufacture by providing energy for the critical function of the brain, especially for brain development. So this is the high cost of synthesis for the nucleotide, high cost of synthesis of nucleotides in the body. So again, you can see that there's a high demand for and cellular turnover. For example, the neutrophils, they die off after 12 hours. So you have to replenish the supply of the neutrophils by producing more neutrophils after 12 hours. Like stomach cells, they die off after 2 to 5 days, depending on any problems in the stomach cells. Skin cells, after about 30 days, you replenish and make new skin cells. The RBCs are replenished after 120 days. The neutrophils, for example, in your immune system and the gut cells are the first to suffer when nucleotide supply is low because the neutrophils, which needs 12 hours to manufacture, after 12 hours, they're gone. So you manufacture again. So the first 12 to 48 hours, so 2 days, neutrophils in stomach, they suffer from dysfunction, especially if there is a low supply of nucleotides. You cannot produce adequately or immediate supplies of nucleotides and stomach cells in the body. So you can see here the other pathways, which is the methylation link pathways. The MTHRF gene mutation affects about 40% of the population. This mutation impairs the ability to process folate, which is key in the production and development of DNA and RNA. What's the clinical relevance? This defect is essentially linked to higher risk of autism and ADHD and chronic fatigue. These individuals have significantly higher requirement for RNA supplementation because they cannot produce enough nucleotides in the body. That's why we have to supplement with RNA or DNA. So what is the assault on the DNA? The environmental pollutants like polycyclic hydrocarbons causes DNA damage, and the brain uses nucleotide excision repair to correct the damages, particularly in the brain. While the autism connection is that research indicates that defects of the DNA repair are one of the major factors that causes autistic ASD, autistic spectrum disease. If the body lacks the nucleotide parts to perform repair, genomic instability increases. If there's genomic instability, meaning that your genes are unstable and they are prone to changes already, they are prone to mutation because they're unstable, then DNA damage and repair happens. So when DNA damage and DNA repair cannot proceed, the cell itself mutates and becomes problematic. It does not function as a normal functioning cell. So the other important, which we will talk maybe in another Zoom, is the gut-brain axis. They say that the gut is your second brain because there's a connection that says that the gut and the brain communicate via the vagus nerve and chemical signals. This is the gut-brain axis. So what's its relevance to ASD? Studies have shown that the leaky gut syndrome or the increased intestinal permeability in children with autism, when the gut barrier is compromised, toxins can enter the bloodstream and affect the blood the brain function, potentially exacerbating behavioral development and behavioral symptoms. So this is what we call the leaky gut, meaning the gut, which has a lot of bacteria, leaks out and causes mucosal instability and causes it to the toxins as well as the bacteria that are in the gut that leaks out from the gut goes into the blood circulation and affects the brain. That's why it's called the gut-brain axis. So the gut health and nucleotide absorption. The nucleotides are the first responders for specifically the gut, because when you drink it, you already have nucleotides responsible for, number one, for gut repair, for increasing the possibility of having good bacteria in the gut. So the gut is the first tissue to utilize dietary nucleotide upon intake. 90% are absorbed as nucleosides by the gut, after which 25 to 50% are retained within the gut for their own repair. So you can see that those, when when the gut is intake, when you get food like nucleotides or immunogen into the gut, there's a absorption or retention of about 50% of the nucleotides for essential reparative process of the gut. Studies by Carver in 2004 show that nucleotide supplemented infants have increased blood flow, particularly in the small intestines, which causes enhanced overall digestion. So function of the digestive function in the gut is absorbed by increasing increasing the blood flow through the small intestine. So the absorption of food from the small intestines is better compared to those without nucleotides. Systemic inflammation. Many children with ASD have chronic inflammation that's good, which includes inflammation of the brain, neuroinflammation, and they have a very imbalanced response, particularly of the immune system. So the immune system may be overactive, causing allergic reactions or autoimmune diseases, or underreactive, frequently causing infections. So if your child is frequently getting illness, maybe the immune system is underreactive and it's not what we call it's in dysregulatory function and does not provide enough nutrients for development and learning. So the other issue is that the cellular health. How can nucleotide improve cellular health? Number one is that you remember that the nucleotides are the materials for DNA damage, for DNA repair. Oxidative stress is one of the damages that can cause DNA and RNA damage. So efficient repair mechanisms are crucial for the development of the brain. That means for the reparative process to proceed, you need materials. Remember, when you make a house, you need the materials for the house. You cannot make a house if you don't have materials, if you don't have hollow blocks, you don't have tiles, you don't have roofing materials, you don't have doors, you don't have windows. And they're specific. You cannot use doors for windows. You cannot use windows for doors. And that means you're specific. The same thing with the DNA in the cell. They need materials to function properly. So what are these materials? You have the nucleotides for your DNA. So it's specific. The nucleotides are essential for your DNA. Just as the roof is essential for your house. If you don't have roofing materials, your house will not be fully functional. The same thing with your DNA. If you don't have enough nucleotides, your DNA, your cells will not be functional. We have energy drainage when the cells are constantly fighting for inflammation, repairing damage. You don't have enough energy for growth, and especially for the brain, cognitive growth of the brain. Regenerative process, rapidly dividing cells like the gut or the stomach, and the immune system cells like the neutrophil, they divide in 12 hours, require a significant resource of nucleotides to regenerate. That means to make more neutrophils, you need more nucleotides. That's why it's essential that everyone, not only autistic children, have a constant supply and a good supply of nucleotides in their body for most of the regenerative process as well, the immune system function. So that is why we came up in Czechoslovakia in the 1930s with a natural solution to the nucleotide gap. We do not know, and we did not notice that we were deficient in nucleotide early on, like in the 1930s. We did not study about nucleotide deficiency during the time. Immunogen is a dietary supplement containing potentially potent profile of dietary nucleotides, peptides, oligopeptides, and amino acids. It's derived from natural sources. It's the building blocks of your DNA. It's important for tissue and tissue repair and genetic stability. Otherwise, if you're deficient, nucleotide deficient, you have poor reparative process, poor immunologic support, and DNA damages are not repaired because you don't have the materials and nucleotides necessary for the reparative process of your DNA. The first mechanism that's important, like I was telling you, 50%, 25 to 50% of the nucleotides stays in the gut for gut repair. So the healing the barrier, the leaky gut syndrome, for example, you you heal or replace the intestinal villi every few days. That means there's massive amount. Every 2 to 5 days, you have to replace the intestinal villi. So you need a massive amount of nucleotides for improvement and regeneration of the villi efficiency. The result is that if it's not repaired, you have a leaky gut. You can see at the right photo, the leaky gut syndrome is the bacteria able to penetrate through the gut into the bloodstream down below. And you can see that the viruses, bad bacteria, paracellular bacteria, gluten, for example, transcellular materials can go into the leak on the gut. Normally, it does not, the intestinal villi does not cause or does not, that prevents the penetration of bad bacteria and paracellular and transcellular debris into the blood flow, the blood circulation that you can see below. In the leaky gut, all these are being transported into your bloodstream, into the brain, and cause further problems in the brain. The second mechanism for the reparative process of the dietary nucleotide in children with neurodevelopmental process problems, balancing of the immune system. We notice that there are a lot of children with ASD who are frequently sick. They're very sickly because we have to balance or boost the immune system because um, the nucleotide stores in the body are very, very low. That's why Immunogen helps modulate the immune system response in the body. So number two is that it reduces inflammation. Inflammation occurs when there is a lack in the regulatory T cells. There's not enough regulatory T cells in the body, which helps in the reduction of chronic systemic inflammation, which is common in autistic children. And if your immune system is not modulated well, your ability to fight infection is decreased. So Immunogen dietary nucleotide enhances the body's innate ability to fight off viruses, bacterial infection and without overstimulating the immune system. That means balance lang, that just enough. I just need this enough stimulation to balance my immune system. The neuroprotection mechanism of dietary nucleotide. You can see here it supports the brain. Nucleotides are critical for neurodevelopment and reparative process of the brain by reducing the gut inflammation, causing systemic toxicity, particularly in the brain. Immunogen directly supports a cleaner environment for the brain to develop because you don't have toxins, you don't have bacteria, you don't have viruses circulating in your brain. So the need for cleaning mechanisms like neutrophil in the brain is decreased because there's a cleaner brain and gut environment. So directly, the peptides may offer also neuroprotective effect. The oligopeptides and peptides, 118 peptides that are present in nucleotides already have neuroprotective effects, supporting and maintaining a healthy neural environment. And there are other benefits for in the support process. Digestion is better, reduces bloating, better bowel regularity, and expanded food tolerance to gut lining. Few sick days because your immune system is good. And parents often report improvement in focus, better sleep, and calmer moods for ASD patients because they have lesser biologic stress. So why Immunogen for autism? Number one, Immunogen is the best because it is the only the only product with dietary nucleotides available for people with the autistic spectrum disorder. It's the only orally available product that can be given to autism. Before, we used to give nucleotides via IV, so it's parenteral, it's invasive, but now we can give it orally. Their bodies usually need to work overtime for repairing the gut and the damaged immune system. So Immunogen bridges the gap by supplying the essential raw materials, nucleotides and peptides and oligopeptides that the body might struggle to produce. They're not. We are not producing enough, especially for children who have a lot of problems. We have to uh, support them in terms of their nucleotide deficiency, give them more nucleotides, especially if you notice right now that there are a lot of milks which promote specific milk products which add, and they say with added nucleotides in the product already. They add nucleotides in the product because they now know that nucleotides is essential for a lot of development in the body for the children who are growing. So benefit one, it aids in digestion absorption. It reduces the digestive stress, so there are less constipation, less diarrhea, less bloating. Better nutrient uptake. With a leaky gut, with a healthy gut, there's less better absorption of vitamins, minerals, which are essential, and nutrients which are essential for the growth of the child. And it gives you a calmer gut-brain axis. A smooth gut sends fewer digestive signals to the brain, potentially reducing anxiety and irritability in children with autism. Well, benefit two, we have enhanced immunity, and we can see that these children have fewer sick days because their immune system, especially the mucosal immunity, prevents frequent colds and respiratory problems. We have the allergy management, those, especially those who are very prone to allergic responses like frequent coughs and colds, eczemas and asthma and food sensitivity. It's reduced in children who are taking Immunogen or nucleotide. Benefit three, cognitive behavior and behavioral, they improve in focus. One of the things that I'm very happy to report that focus, particularly for those who are engaged in children who cannot really focus on what they need to do, they improve in focus. One of the things the children, the parents of the mothers who have autism, parents of the mothers who have children with autism, that they say that the focus of their children is better, and their mood is better, and their sleep is better. These are the three things that improve with nucleotide, with Immunogen. So when they ask you, ano ba mangyari pag binigyan ko ng nucleotide, what will happen when I give them Immunogen? Oh, they will improve in focus. Number one, there's mood swings will be decreased. Yung outburst nila, yung galit nila will be less. And their sleep patterns will be produced. If the children can sleep, the parents can sleep. So the summary is that Immunogen is a holistic approach. It's a holistic support for children with autism. Now, because it repairs the gut and prevents leaky gut syndrome. It makes for a better gut-brain axis. It balances your immunity, reduces inflammation, and reduces your immune system dysfunction. And it provides energy, so your children are more active and more energetic, and it could support cellular reparative process and regeneration. So this biologic support lays a stronger foundation for behavioral, developmental, and educational support and therapies that helps in the development of children. So safety and administration, Immunogen is natural, non-toxic, it has no overdose, it has no known contraindication with medicine, no interaction with medicines, with vitamins, with other medication that you're giving your children. Dosage usually depends on the age and severity of the symptoms, but anywhere, usually for children below 10 years old, I usually recommend 5 ml 2 times a day. Maybe higher for those with older individuals. You can also give it through liquid in drops, for example, in very young individuals, or in capsules for all the older patients. Immunogen is backed by clinical studies. It's the only product that has a lot and thousands of dietary nucleotides. You just go to Google and search clinical studies dietary nucleotides, and you can see thousands of clinical studies about dietary nucleotide already, because number one, it's proven to accelerate the recovery of the gut lining. It enhances T cell maturation for your immune system function, and it reduces cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone levels. So you're less stressed, your gut is functioning, and you have good immune system. What do you need more? All the three important aspects in proper functioning, you have already good control. The researchers, we have the Carver, you take a screenshot of this and maybe you can study it, in 2004, dietary nucleotides, the effects on immune system, gastrointestinal tract, Hess in 2012, role of nucleotides on immune system, gastrointestinal systems, WHO in 2014, dietary nucleotides and their role in immunity and development, Len Carmi and New York State University, making a case for the role of DNA repair in autism. This one is very nice study, the Ned Carmi. Torel nucleotides in human source and metabolism. Thank you so much for listening. This is just the basic. We will delve more in the next episode for nucleotide. Thank you so much.